guys, I'm Melchi and welcome back to my channel. I'm currently a sophomore in high school. The transition from middle school to high school is regarded to be one of the most exhilarating yet challenging transitions. Why is that? Why is elementary to middle school not as big of a deal as middle school to high school? It's because in middle school we only had 1 hour of homework max. We didn't really have much extracurricular activities. The amount of personal commitments that we had was really minimal. But now in high school, the homework is like doubled or tripled, or for some people quadrupled. And we have social commitments to attend to. We have clubs and activities that we can participate in, so many more opportunities. And in addition to all that, we have personal commitments to stand up to. And now, all of this aside, the high school curriculum goes twice as fast as the middle school one. So really, it makes you wonder, how am I going to have time to do what I want to do in high school? How am I going to ease this transition and not stress myself out in the end? In reality, it's just, if you enjoy learning and you use renowned educational techniques, such as better study habits, organization, test-taking skills, and really choosing courses that you're passionate about, choosing the right clubs, you will be able to attain success. And in this video, I'll be giving 6 tips on how I eased my transition from middle school to high school. Now, these tips are not only based on my experiences, but also the experiences of my peers, friends, seniors, and people that I've interacted with. So before I start with these 6 tips, there's just a really short story that I'd like to share. So in middle school, I always got the best grade, the highest grade possible for every single subject. But then when I came to high school, I ended up getting a grade called 4.54. Now 4.54 was really bad in my opinion because 8.88 is the highest. And for someone who got the highest in middle school, getting about half of that in high school was like, what is going on right now? Why is this happening? And then later, I realized the reason that happened was because I moved from a pretty easy syllabus in middle school, at least for me, into a much more challenging one into high school. And I'm not the only person who went through that change. It happened for every single person. And as a result of that change, I wasn't prepared for that, which meant that I didn't know how to adapt to that. But thankfully, by the end of the year, I did end up getting 8.88, so I was pretty satisfied with my progress. But leaving that aside, it's not knowing how to transition that led to me being really stressed out at the start of the year because I wasn't doing as well as I thought I should be doing. So in this video, I will give you a quick summary of 6 tips that will change your life academically, socially, and personally. And I will share it based on my experiences and actually fact-worthy methods that will help you get where you want to go and ease your transition so much more. Because it's never too early to start preparing for high school. The first suggestion that I have is regarding the choice of your classes. In middle school, most of your classes are determined by your teachers. But in high school, you have more freedom and scope to select the classes that you want. Obviously, you have to keep in mind graduation requirements, but other than that, you can basically choose whatever course you feel like choosing. Now, when you get this freedom of choice, there are obviously a lot of advantages that you get to choose what you want. But there's also the disadvantage of making the wrong decisions, which could negatively impact the trajectory of your life. For which I have 3 suggestions on how to select the right courses for you. So the first thing is check if it fulfills your graduation requirements and if you're interested in that course. An example is I did a course called IM3 when I was in 9th grade. Now, IM3 is the highest math level that a 9th grader can do at our school. But I was also given the opportunity to do IM2, which is the 2nd highest math level course at our school a 9th grader could do. But the reason that I chose IM3 was because it gives me the opportunity to do higher level courses in 10th grade and the years ahead, For instance, this year I'm taking AP Calculus BC and AP Statistics because I did IM3 in 9th grade. And then the next thing I'd suggest is college applications look into the courses that you took, and they want to know if the courses that you take pertain to the subject that you wish to study. Now, obviously, you can't have your entire life mapped out by the time that you're in 9th grade. So just know, sort of have a rough idea what courses that you want to do, and then decide the courses that you take in 9th grade are the highest level for your pertaining interests, so you have more opportunity to do higher level courses in the future. Now, the next thing that you should keep in mind is to ask advice from the people that did that course in the previous years on how to succeed in that course. So an example would be I did biology in 9th grade, and I was able to do much better than most people did in that specific year because I took notes in that class. Now, I wasn't a person that used to take notes in middle school because for me it was like, why on earth should I take notes for something that I clearly understand? But two of my really close friends who took that course a year before me said you have to take notes in biology or it's going to be really, really hard for you to perform well in that course. So taking the advice of people who took that course, making sure the courses you take are pertaining towards your interests, and also taking the highest level of courses while meeting graduation requirements is ideal for choosing the right courses. The next suggestion that I have is regarding long-term extracurricular activities. Most high schools have this meeting where they announce the clubs that they offer in high school and the possibilities of you joining that club. Now, I know these meetings can be really overwhelming because there are a lot of people who have already been in these clubs before, but also because there's so many club opportunities and you really don't know what to choose. So there are 3 things that I would suggest that you need to remember when you choose your clubs. First thing is, don't choose a club just because you think it looks good on your college applications. Because when you end up doing that, you will lose the passion that you have for that club like almost immediately. And that's not worth it because it will reflect upon your attendance in that club or your participation in that club. And you're just going to end up wasting your time doing a club because you think it looks good on your college applications. So make sure to have genuine interest. Now, the next thing is be ready to commit to clubs. It's much better to do 1 or 2 clubs well than it is to participate in 5 or 10 clubs and not to perform in them to the best of your ability. So choose only what you think you can do and commit to it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that you should have decided all your interests by the time that you're in 9th grade in regards to clubs. Just make sure that the clubs you choose are ones that you can do, and don't be afraid to explore your club opportunities in your freshman and sophomore year, because in the long run, that will help you narrow down the clubs that you want to do in your junior and senior year. So it's finding the right balance between exploring the clubs that you want to do, but also making sure that you can commit to those clubs. Join clubs that you know you will stick with for the long run. Otherwise, just don't do it because you're wasting your time and the time of other people. An example I can say is the Interact Rotary Club at our school. I joined that club because teachers and students recommended that I join that club, and I didn't really understand why we were making lesson plans because that's what we did for the first 2 meetings. But afterwards, when I got the opportunity to teach underprivileged kids the lesson plans that I made, the amount of satisfaction and fulfillment that I got was inexplicable. Like, there's no words that can describe how good it felt to know that there were underprivileged kids learning from what you'd made. And that sort of gave me the sense of purpose to continuing that club. And what I think is really important to finding clubs that you know you will commit to the long term is finding some sort of purpose behind it, some sort of meaning, some sort of fulfillment that you get by being a part of that club. Also bear in mind that you need to spread out the clubs that you participate in, ranging from like honor society, specific interest clubs, healthcare, art, acting, business, student government, and like a variety of sports. So just spread things out. And this is a reason that I've got from a lot of my peers in 9th grade, or just a lot of people in general, that they don't know how to manage the time between doing schoolwork and participating in club. And this has always been my recommendation to them. Plan out what you want to do in regards to clubs. Build your clubs as part of your schedule. And be willing to make compromises, because, well, we all do only have 24 hours in a day, and it really is how we divide our time up to do what we really want to do. So instead of spending like 5 hours on social media a day, maybe try to cut that down to an hour or so, and then you get like 3 or 4 more hours to actually do what you really feel like you should be doing at that point. So really, in regards to clubs, you should be willing to commit to the clubs that you want to do and make that commitment a fruitful one, and be willing to join clubs and stick to it to the long term. Also choose clubs that add value to you as a person, give you some sort of purpose or meaning, but at the same time, don't be afraid to explore clubs. Like, there's nothing wrong with thinking, oh, that club seemed interesting at first and now it's not interesting anymore, or finding a club that's uninteresting at first but then really finding it to be a great club. And in addition to that, join these clubs early on, because it would give you opportunities such as leadership in the long run, or it just looks much better on your college applications. And be willing to make sacrifices. This is probably the most important and crucial factor, in my opinion, regarding clubs and time management, that you have to make sacrifices. The next suggestion that I have for you is learn to be your own advocate. In my opinion, this is probably the biggest change that you will experience from middle school to high school. So now that you're in a high school environment, you're expected to be an independent learner, and you're expected to be a much more independent person. So take control of your own education. Don't expect others to take control of it for you. Don't expect them to be at fault if you don't end up getting good grades or perform like you would have expected to perform. So don't be afraid to ask teachers questions. This was a huge challenge that a lot of my peers faced, and I would admit that even I faced at first, because I was really intimidated by the high school teachers at the first. Appearance of how they looked, how they spoke, they all seemed so sophisticated and scary. But trust me, as you get to know them and meet them, it just becomes much easier for you as a person to approach them and to really ask them questions. And I found out that classes in which I did end up asking questions, I performed so much better than in classes that I was a little hesitant to ask questions or feedback for at first. And you should remember that sometimes teachers do end up making mistakes, and the simplest thing that I can think of is regarding grades. I remember there was this time in 9th grade, and I think it was a math class, that the teacher had graded me less than what I would have thought my grade was, and she could have had a really valid reason for that, but I wanted to know why I was graded lower than I thought I should be graded. So when I asked her, she was like, she made a mistake in grading and wrote the wrong grade for me, which was supposed to be written for another person. Now here, if I didn't stand up for myself, to find out what my actual grade was, it would have affected my semester grade. But I also would have thought that I wasn't as good as in that specific subject as I thought I was. So it really is more of a benchmark for you to know when communicating with teachers where you are, because without that, you cannot be an advocate for yourself or learn to grow up and be a more independent person. And sometimes I know you might think that, oh my god, I'm being annoying by asking teachers too many questions. Actually, teachers really appreciate it because it shows that you're taking initiative and taking control and trajectory of your own learning. Now, one more thing, which is sort of like an added benefit to this, is when you ask questions in classes, it's very likely that there are other people who didn't understand the same concept that you were a bit confused with. So you're not only helping yourself become better, but you're also helping others. And while they may not directly tell you that, they really do appreciate it when you ask teachers to reiterate things because you didn't understand them. Obviously, there could be times that you're not willing to ask a teacher because of whatever reason it may be in front of the class. So you could always go at another time, or if you don't even want to ask a teacher, you could always ask your peers regarding help for education or really any aspect. So in high school, you have to be more independent. You're fending for yourself at that point. You have to take control of your own learning. You have to take control of your emotions. You really have to know who you are as a person for you to do that. And that is completely different from middle school as far as I've experienced. The fourth suggestion that I have for you is be consistent and organized. I cannot stress how important this is because being organized will get you more than 50% of the way of where you're actually supposed to be, because that is how important being organized is in high school. So have a homework agenda and actually stick to it. So the way you need to have a homework agenda is knowing when to do what. So it could be, okay, on Monday after tennis practice, I am going to complete my math, social studies, and English homework, and I'm planning to spend 25 minutes on each of these. So this gives you a rough idea of how you're going to do it and sort of when you're going to do what. And by planning ahead, it just gives you more scope to fit in more things or remove more things and really adapt as you go along. Now, this is a mistake that I made at the start of 9th grade, which wasn't incorporating extracurricular activities and clubs into my homework schedule, which meant that most of the time, for like the first couple of months, I would forget when I had to do what. Not that I ended up missing anything, but it was just like I would end up getting stressed unnecessarily because I did follow that. So I'm speaking from experience at this point to really build in everything that you think would come in your way in terms of building your schedule. Now, obviously, there are unexpected variables that you can't really account for. Like, let's say 5 days from now, you end up falling sick. So don't procrastinate on your work, which is another major thing that does have an impact in high school a lot more than it did in middle school. Because let's say you have a deadline 6 days from now, but you end up getting a cold 5 days from now and the allergies are so bad you can like barely see. You can't really complete the assignment because you ended up procrastinating. So always don't assume the worst is going to happen from now on, but always just be prepared for anything to come in your way. And the next thing is, if you know you're going to be busy the next week or so, plan for it accordingly. I remember starting to prepare for a specific summative in 9th grade, I believe it was a social studies essay 2 weeks before everyone else started preparing, and no one really understood why I was doing that. But the reason I did that was I knew that I had a family event coming up and I had to complete it so the family event doesn't really deviate me from completing my work. So what I'm trying to say here is, in high school, you need to be able to prioritize the work that you have and be able to get it done on time, because deadlines matter so much more. It could even affect your grades. And you also have to be adaptive and flexible in terms of unexpected events. The fifth suggestion that I have for you is to focus on the relationships that you make and build. You need to improve yourself and social compass a lot more in high school than you had to in middle school. Your peers and those you interact with on a day-to-day basis can either impact your life and take it in a positive direction, or impact your life in a negative way and obviously take it in the negative direction. So you need to surround yourself with people that you know are benefiting you positively. Now, a question that I actually struggle with was, how do I know if someone is benefiting my life positively or negatively? And really, it's a matter of feeling, and more so gut feeling. Like, do they make you feel happy? Do they make you feel accomplished? Do they make you feel satisfied and that you're proud of yourself? Or do they keep pushing you down? Do they keep underestimating you? And it's really, do you feel comfortable around that person, or do you feel like you're walking on eggs? So it's a matter of feeling, and you start getting it with experience of, should I be with that person? Should I not be with that person? Are they adding value, or are they not adding value? Relationships is not only with peers, but you also have to think of relationship with your teachers and counselors. And the reason for that is from 9th grade to 12th grade, or really that transition period as a whole from like 7th to 12th grade, is one of the most crucial parts of our lives. It's where we make decisions that impact the rest of our lives. And having adults around us who can support us and guide us is really important. And that won't be possible if we don't build positive relationships with the adults around us. And in terms of teachers, you know that they can give you more personalized feedback. They can guide you more academically if they know who you are as a person. Because the more a teacher interacts with you, they start to understand, okay, this is the kind of feedback the student would like to have. And little things like that, which would really push you forward in your academic journey. Now, teachers who are more like administrators, like counselors, having a good relationship with them would help you to really think of yourself more from like an emotional or social aspect. Like, I really have a good relationship with my counselors, and that has helped me in regards to course decisions that I want to make in 9th grade or 10th grade. So it's really at this point building good relationships with adults around you so you can push yourself to the next level. So you can push yourself to the next level on the academic front, but also in your social and your emotional front. And the next thing here is, sometimes we get this feeling when we talk to adults that we're disturbing them by asking them too many questions, or that we're being a nuisance to them. What we really have to understand here is that teachers and adults appreciate it when we ask them for help, because it shows them, as I said before, that we're taking initiative, that we really do want to improve. And that really shows teachers exactly what they should do to help that student succeed. So in summary of this tip, it's that the relationships you make in high school matter a lot more than they did in middle school. And be willing to put in the effort to build positive relationships with your peers, but also your teachers and counselors and any trusted adults around you, so they can guide you and shape you so you can have the kind of future that you wish to have. The last suggestion that I have for you is think of the end. Know where you want to go. So a common misconception that most people have when they come from middle school to high school, which actually I also experienced, is that the final goal is to get the best grades possible, for which I need to work as hard as I can. Now, the way that I sort of changed my thinking over time is that good grades is a result of hard work, but it's not the end goal. Like, you could have spectacular grades, but then what? What are you gonna get out of spectacular grades, right? It's like you need to think more. You need to think more than just getting good grades. There's so much more to life than just good grades. So the ultimate goal is to know what you want to do with your life. But more than that, it's of like knowing who you are. It's really a process of self-discovery, and there's no one word answer for it of like, this is how your life is gonna be, you know? So really think of life more than just grades in high school. Think of it from a broader scope of like social, emotional, academic, personal, and all the possible well-being aspects that you could think of. And to know what you want to do, obviously you need to think of certain educational goals and be willing to shape your life based on those educational goals, whether it's the courses that you take or the clubs that you decide to do. And again, you're only coming to 9th grade, so it's really hard to know that. But just having a rough idea can help you narrow things down by a lot. So a passionate desire for just I want to accomplish that goal is definitely not enough. You need to put in the hard work to get there. Nothing comes free of cost in life. So be sure to be willing, more than anything, to put in the hard work to attain your dreams. So the end goal is not really just to get good grades and being valedictorian of your class. It's really a process of self-discovery. It's a process to know who you are, what you want, and where you want to go. So this video was really a quick summary of the 6 most important things that I think you should know from your transition from middle school to high school. It was really based on my experience in my transition, but also what other people have told me. Now, there is a lot more information that I can give you, and if you're interested to know more or would like me to expand on certain topics, feel free to message me on Instagram or comment down on this video. Thank you.